And so today we're going to talk about digital monuments, and this is going to be somewhat of a training, but we want it to be completely interactive. So as we're going through it, if you have anything to add, any questions, anything that seems like it could be helpful in us explaining digital monuments, please bring it up because, as I was saying earlier, we are in the early stages of understanding what digital monuments are, how to use them, and how to talk about them. And I don't know if Dee knows this, but I just did a rev on the deck, so it's progressed since last Thursday, and we're gonna try it out now. And you let me know what works, let me know what doesn't work, and we'll just go from there, okay? All right. So we're gonna. Oh, wait, let me look and see. So you said Oman, right? So it doesn't, I'm not seeing the that Oman address in the list, Renard. So
Oh,
you registered, right?
yeah.
Okay. I will activate that one. It says pending, not access yet. I don't know why. I'll go ahead and add you in at the end of this and you'll have access.
Okay, sure. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And I'll send you a message on WhatsApp when it's there. Okay.
Okay.
Great. All right. So we're going to talk about digital monuments. And do you want to say anything about the Thursday session just to frame what we've done so far?
Yeah, just real quick, but this is your big story in making sure how that this concept is connected to our overall work. But we had a very successful 20-person in-person session on digital monuments with our collaboration between Internet Society Nevada chapter, the IEEE of Northern Nevada, and the Society of Women Engineers, the Sierra Nevada chapter, all of which I'm associated with deeply in as each one of those organizations are near and dear to my heart. But it was really a showcase of ISOC Nevada's involvement with the Metal Layer Initiative. And it was a positioning that Nevada has a lot of opportunities to implement projects that involve digital monuments, and David made a big case for doing that. And we got enthusiastic commentary and we have some potential projects. So I'll let him uh, recap all those highlights, but it was great.
Well, I'd love for Suzanne if you want to speak to it as well. You were
Uh,
there.
well, David gave an outstanding presentation, and we had such a great turnout, and it was very engaging. Uh, these are all people that attended were very supportive regarding the overlay and the need for a new web. And what stood out for me was um, that of its security and the blockchain portion of it. It seemed like with Nevada, Nevada I think is ahead of the curve. So it was just very engaging, and you would have all loved it. He did a great job.
And and we would have loved to record it, but somehow that didn't quite come together, and it's okay because we're recording it now. So,
We'll do
uh,
that next time.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one other thing to mention is there were several potential projects that digital monument projects that might come out of it. One was Burning Man. That I don't know if you all are familiar with it, but it's a festival in northern Nevada. Do you want to speak just for a second about that and the connection, et cetera, Dee, since Dan is your connection and you've been to
Yeah,
Burning
yeah,
Man most
but
recently?
I'll reveal that after you present digital monuments and the core thing. I think I'll do that at the end, okay?
Okay. All right. Here we go. Any questions before we start? Anyone? Okay. Good enough. Here we go. We're embarking into a new era. I mean, not era, I mean area or uh, concept called digital monuments. And an accompanying aspect of this is reality anchors because digital monuments actually act as reality anchors from the standpoint of how uh, human communities will process them in their thinking. We're going to be talking about how these digital artifacts can help civilization remember, orient, and decide uh, collectively what they're going to do. The really interesting inquiry, at least from my perspective, is well, what will we know if more memory had survived? Like, think about some civilization, throw out some civilizations, something that you're curious about. Anybody? Some past civilization. Are there ones that you are particularly interested in? Anyone?
I don't know if the Phoenicians, because this is the first thing that came to my mind, because they are our ancestors here in Lebanon. But like, feel free to pick any, but now I just remembered them.
And are you interested in maybe one generation ago ancestors or how like when you think of that, are you talking about 2000 years ago or 4000 years ago? What's the area that you're really interested in?
Maybe like how their knowledge there, because like it's not them in specific, but like I feel there's a gap somewhere in generations where they had the knowledge and they had the sciences, but they were lost in some part of in I don't know in which age, and then we started learning again. So I think there's, I don't know if I'm explaining this correct, because like the previous generations, they used to know some knowledge, and then they were lost in wars, in attacks, I don't know where. And then we started learning again. But I believe there were knowledge that was previously there, but it was not stored somewhere. And now we're figuring it out again.
Right, right. It it's really interesting to think about, well, what would have happened if that knowledge was preserved, if we still had access to notebooks, recordings, and other things. I mean, obviously they didn't have the same types of notebooks or recordings that we have, and but whatever they used to record their thoughts, if we had that, then we would know more about them, right? We would understand those peoples and I think what you alluded to is the fact that we've had to relearn some of those things. And if we hadn't had to relearn those things, we might have made different decisions along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we could have continued from where they left. And I believe we are just starting things all over. Maybe they reached there somewhere and we didn't know. And we're starting learning about new things now, which we're already known for them before. And also, like, they used maybe to write in a different way, or maybe they meant to tell us something and we didn't get it. So, yeah, this is it. I don't know if this is clear with what I'm trying to express, but you got my point, yes.
Oh, 100%. And back in the days, obviously they had different ways of recording things. There were stone tablets, there were vellum in certain places in the world, and I'm imagining that there are probably some other things that we may not even really fully understand about how they recorded their thoughts. The key thing to note that it isn't so much about the technology, but it's the decision about what to preserve. That's the really important thing. So when when memory does not have a durable anchor, it's not anchored in our reality in some way, whether it's a piece of vellum, which I don't know if you all know, but vellum, I believe, is it deerskin? Suzanne, you know, D, or any of you know, is vellum? Vellum is a skin. I can't remember what types of skin it may be. Do you know?
I'm trying to remember real quick. Not off the
Okay.
top of but hey, David, I mean, you know, going back to your original question, like, I mean, I think what's really lost is before writing, you know, before things could be like written down, there's such a gap with what happened historically, with what I would want to learn more about, would be like songs and rituals, the myths that were spoken and told, and then of course for myself, you know, what was embodied in medical practice, when so many things weren't written down, and I think too with weather and time and all of the cycles that occur, um, through, you know, climate and just recapturing prior to writing all of those missing gaps. I mean, imagine how far back it goes. It's yeah, it's mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, just kind of to add to that, that even after writing was available, because we've had writing for a long time, but in many cases, there's information that existed in the time of writing, or there's thoughts that happened during the early times of writing that weren't captured. Just because back in the day to write something down, well, you had to go skin a beast, you know, if you're going to do it on vellum, or you had to create a stone tablet, or you had to um, you had to know how to even, you had to be one of the people who knew to write, how to write. At a certain time, it was only people in the church that were in churches that were writing.
In reference to what you just mentioned, I mean, stone tablet, I mean, imagine the pyramids if we had, you know, their moving techniques, their stone moving techniques, or how they acoustically engineered, and all the astrological alignment. I mean, it would just be so, and navigation of ships, navigation of, yeah, of maps. Um, Look at all the map information that was probably written and lost.
Yeah, I mean, the pyramids in my mind are an excellent example, because there's
How to,
so much technology there
yeah.
that we don't even know how to recreate it now. Nada?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, through this discussion, it's really actually, it's really rich. Thank you. I just remembered something, uh, that the Quran, it's the book of Islam, which, like, you know, this religion is really found in the Middle East, and it's my religion, so that's why I know about Quran. It's 1,400 years ago old. I mean, like 1,400 years old. And it mentioned that God has our, you know, our deeds, what we do right and wrong in digital uh, recordings. So it mentions the digital thing, imagine, like 1,400 years ago. So this is why I believe like there was knowledge that our ancestors had, and then it was lost somewhere
Yeah.
in, I don't know, something, and then now we're starting from the beginning to discover. And I don't know, Dr. Susan, if you have anything about this. So it's just an idea I got.
That's fascinating. That is so deep. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, we can replicate so many results, right? But we just don't have access to the original process of those results. I mean, would I this would be a topic that would be phenomenally awesome to look into. I mean, just wouldn't you, I mean, want to project yourself back in time and be there when they wrote that?
Yeah, so it'd be super valuable for us to have this type of information. And this digital monuments work is saying, well, okay, if that's the case, maybe we should start doing it now, preserving the things that are important, uh, that are very important to us today, and that we think would be very useful for future generations, so that we don't have to sit back here and speculate, well, what kind of value would we have got if these things had been captured in the past. And this slide really speaks to the fact that there's for a lot of the knowledge we've talked about, knowledge that's just gone away, is because there was no what we're calling a durable anchor. The media was fragile. Maybe there was paper. Paper has been lost. And in our time, servers, information on servers can be lost. That happens. Information in the interplanetary file system gets lost all the time. There's just many ways that our systems are fragile and our media is fragile. And then another way that this occurs is when the custody is centralized and specific groups of people get to decide what remains visible. And depending on their agenda, as these political environments and institutions change, they may make the unilateral decision to remove certain knowledge. So, in fact, some of the things that we're talking about right now that was lost might have been because there were institutions or political environments that wanted them to be lost. They didn't want the knowledge to spread. And then another aspect of it is, well, just as our um, there are times when the knowledge does exist, but we just aren't aware of it. We just don't know where it is. We lost track of it, and it's just um, invisible to us at the moment because we don't have the focus that we had in the past when it was visible. Make
Yeah,
sense?
but David, with this meta layer though, when I thought about this the other day, and it's such a good topic right now, but for all of the physical artifacts that it's the preservation methods and all the instructions, right, are gone. But I think that there is a way to reverse engineer this. Once the meta layer is implemented and applied, I think there's doable, possible, reversible, and engineerable, that we could reveal so much information that our ancestors, I think, and how they solve problems. Even the way the cultural stories that are missing or were told. And I think that this is one application that could find the missing pieces.
Yeah, I think that's totally right, because just because things have moved out of our awareness, there may be some people who still know the song, or there may be instances where there's really valuable information that's in some museum in some Middle Eastern country, and only the people who are speaking Arabic even know that it exists. So it's outside of the awareness. And of course, as people or yeah, people who dig for artifacts. I guess the anthropologists and other um, practitioners that are looking for knowledge, as they find new things from the past, we can begin to preserve those as well. So I totally agree, Suzanne, that it's not just moving forward, but we can move backwards as well. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Mhm. A lot of residue out there.
Yeah. So what is a digital monument? Well, at the highest level right now, the languaging that feels right is to say it's a reality anchor. It's something that is enduring. It's going to remain available beyond a single platform, a single interface, a single institution. It's discoverable. It means that you can find it, you can cite it, you can put it down and return to it. You can build things around it, and it's also orienting. And this is suggesting that it becomes a shared reference point that can change future conversations. So the idea here is if there is a digital monument and we all know that it exists, then we're going to change our conversations such that it at least acknowledges the fact that there is this reality anchor. Does that make sense to everybody? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that from my definition, I think that a digital monument is an online or technology-based memorial created to preserve the memory of a person, event, culture, or place. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think that that is a great addition, and I yeah totally agree that it should be online because if it's a monument. Well, okay, physical monuments. We all know about those, and I'm sure that in every single one of our countries there are many physical monuments, and now obviously you actually have to go to the place. Like we're in Nevada, there's some things in Nevada that we have to go to and we can experience that monument. It's that monument when they built that statue or whatever it is, that's essentially a collective agreement that that thing is really important and that future generations need to know about it. Digital monuments, as we move to the digital world, it means that there's this possibility of putting it online. I think you make a really good distinction because it's not that it's just digital, it's also that it's online so that you people can encounter it just by having access to the URL that brings it up. So every digital monument should have an address, a URL, and you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to go to the right link, essentially.
Yeah, thank you.
So one key thing to note about these reality anchors is that they're not forcing us all to agree on anything. We've been languaging that they create a shared orientation. So it's something that hopefully the way I would imagine it working really well would be if in every field, like okay, there's paleontology, there's anthropology, there's chemistry, there's biology, there's human studies, there's gender studies, there's all these fields, right? If in every single field the a person who's getting introduced to the field early on, they get to know whatever digital monuments exist. In other words, it's well known within the field that there are specific digital monuments. Just like if I'm in if I'm in let's say I'm interested in pyramids. Well, we know that there are pyramids all over the world, and yeah, some are more obscure than others, but you know that there's pyramids a lot in Egypt. There's ones in Mexico. I'm sure there's more in South America. As it turns out, I didn't realize this, but there's a bunch of they're smaller, but small pyramids even in North America, in the United States. So um, I believe, I'm not totally sure, but I believe that someone who really knows about pyramids probably has a good sense of where the different pyramids in the world are. And that if I was to want to become an expert or to work within the field of pyramids, that there would be ways on the web to find out where those pyramids exist. I mean, obviously we could do a search, and I think that, within a certain amount of time, we'd be able to identify where all, at least all or most of the known pyramids are. In that same way, we can imagine that if I'm, for example, focused on gender studies, that there could be a set of monuments that anybody who's in gender studies knows it exists. And if we have that, then it means that all the people within the field would not only know that it exists, but they'll need to orient around it. It doesn't say that they have to, when I say orient around it, it means that their thinking and their conversation will need to to reflect that it is actually something that exists. And what that means is they would either point it out as something that they agree with, or they would point it out as something that they don't agree with and why they don't agree with it, or what conditions they don't agree with it, or what conditions they think should also be mentioned whenever someone brings that up because they feel like some context is missing. But in any case, they don't ignore it. Does that make sense? Nada?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I don't know if we can do these interventions since this is very interesting for me. There's something, yes, may I?
Oh yeah, and you can just jump in. You don't have to raise your hand.
Yes.
But if you want to raise your hand, you can, but you can
Yeah,
just jump in.
I will keep raising my hand because I don't want to interrupt your flow because this is all about the flow of information, in our brains. So if we keep the flow going, then more and more will be generated. Even sometimes you will discover new things, new insights while you're speaking and, like listening to others' perspectives. There's something called knowledge management, if you ever heard about it. Knowledge management, because I lectured this at university and it was my thesis in the master's degree. So I know more, like I know too much about this thing because it's very interesting for me. It's about how you can manage the knowledge that is in human brain. It's not about the things in artifacts. Data and information are found in technologies, in computer systems and everything. But like knowledge, 80% of knowledge is found in human brain and only 20% is capable to be captured. And this is where experts all over the world, and there are very few, really work very hard so they can encourage, companies, governments, and so on, and introduce them to this concept so they can store, if you want the knowledge, they can extract first. If we can extract the knowledge from every one of us and keep it for the becoming the next generations, just like you're trying now to take us somewhere that this information must be stored somewhere. And the real the real challenge is if you can store the knowledge of people where it is the information, the harmony of the information and the insights and everything. So it goes beyond information. And if we go to this level, then decision making will be perfect and problem solving and all of these. So the thing is, these are 4 types of knowledge management systems. They are knowledge knowledge discovery systems, knowledge capture systems, knowledge sharing systems, and knowledge application systems. And every one of them deals with knowledge in a different way. And the main or the conclusion is that knowledge must be shared with everyone in this generation, and to keep this knowledge stored in technologies, in computer systems, whatever you want for the next generations, whether in business, in government, for social, the sciences, for anything. And this is where generations will go beyond even what we are right now. I don't know also if I explained this very well, because like it's a very big thing that needs too much explanation, but I tried to make it really, uh, I briefed it out.
Nada, I just love what you said, because, and especially with your expertise, like when you are teaching and you're talking about knowledge management, do you find that like when you're all these multi domains that converge, do you see in knowledge management that that we could learn by the same patterns reappearing? You know, like from archaeology and linguistics, genetics, mythology, engineering, ecology. Do you, when these all converge, I mean, do you see with knowledge management the patterns that continue to reoccur?
I don't know if I get your question correct. Is that if I see they are practicing this, you mean?
Yeah, like
No,
does
actually,
does
no.
all the lot. I mean, when you're looking at knowledge management, do you see patterns that repeat themselves in different domains, like in different do you find?
Okay, okay. Yeah, now I got your point.
Okay.
Actually, it's the same in whatever domain you can talk about. So it's the same methodology, if you want, the same approach, the same concept. But if we do this, you know, like even companies will make more profits, even governments will arise more. It's a learning thing, you know, like even even it's a learning thing and not about education. So I learned this thing and now I know it. It's a learning even from mistakes. Even it says like how companies, organizations, no matter what their type is, they learn from their past experiences and they build upon them through maybe having libraries. Libraries not only bringing books, it's our own experience where we can store it in libraries also, whether digital or also hard copies and so on. So it's the same thing with whatever domain you want to do, but the thing is that it's very hard. It's not easy to work with, because through experience people will escape. You know, if it has been tried with several people and experts and companies, and but they find that the pattern, maybe one of the patterns with people behavior, is that they try to escape from this, because some of them will think not everyone would like to share his knowledge and experience, just like you
Right.
all are doing here openly. So people will try to deviate from speaking the truth. They try not to share everything. They want to possess things. But I want to give you a very simple example. One of the people here in my town, he was an old man, and he had an important knowledge about something, I don't know what we call them in English, that comes up on skin, and it's very annoying. And he used to do this, you know, even dermatologists were like, I don't feel they can treat it, but he was capable to do this thing with, I don't know what he read in his inside, something like he believes in something, and then he holds something from the ground, a branch or something, and
Mhm.
it was really healing. He didn't teach it to anyone, so he left this world, and even his son doesn't know the secret. So what about if we were able to capture this knowledge, for example? So isn't it beneficial to the coming generations or to other people or so on? So this is where the expert's role is, to know how to convince these people to share. It's not, we're not blaming anyone, but it's the nature of human being. We resist this thing because sometimes I don't want, I want to be the only shining person here. Sometimes maybe I don't want, because like maybe I don't feel the chemistry between, like I'm not blending in the team. Sometimes I will be afraid, maybe if you know my knowledge, you will bring another one and you will kick me out of the company, so I lose my job. So there are lots of concerns with people with this. So this is very common, no matter what the domain is.
Interesting. That no, thank you for your response. And we're not kicking you out, but we're all a team.
Just give an example on myself.
I,
Just
Yeah.
about.
I have the same. I have,
Thank you.
no, I have the same. I have this, the same sentiment as you do. The same.
Yeah, that's awesome. This exchange has been really helpful. And I would like to ask you, Nada, is there any concept in knowledge management about orienting around reality anchors? Or, I mean, I know you don't use that language, but is that idea that we can have certain things that everybody knows, and if everybody knows them, then we can't, then when you're in a conversation, you can't just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Does it make sense?
Um, yeah, it makes sense. I don't know if my answer will show you that I got your question, but there's something that comes from the senior level where it must show, I mean, like introduce this thing, because this is not a common thing and it's sort of changing mindsets, you know? So where everyone feel comfortable about sharing and exchanging, about capturing and extracting, like there's externalization. Just like now, when you're speaking, I'm learning, I'm doing the internalization. I'm just taking your knowledge and trying to have it internal. And when I speak, I do the externalization, and I'm transferring the tacit knowledge into explicit one. And both sides, it's not easy. So if you speak, I'm pretty sure I cannot take 100% of what you speak. And when I speak about what I know, also I cannot speak 100% of what I know. This is also a challenge. And the senior management, or whatever you want to call, like it's a top-down thing. So whenever they have people feel comfortable about this and so on, and gradually introducing this, how is the approach gonna be? Like, how's the process gonna be? Like, it's gonna be something good to everyone, or there's something that because you're working with human beings, people have intentions, have feelings, have concerns, have and if you were able and successful to do this, you will never also lose, like the turnover rate sometimes is high in some companies, or sometimes you lose someone and he goes to another place because they pay him more. Even if you know more about the concept of knowledge management, you would have paid more for this guy to stay at your company and not lose him, because like you can see beyond losing only an employee and bringing someone instead of him. What you're losing actually is too much. So it's not something like 1 + 1 = 2. The hard thing is that in knowledge management, 1 + 1 gives more than 2, because it's the interaction between experiences and knowledge which gives you more. Just like we're doing now. If I was alone, I wouldn't have think about any of what I talked about tonight. I mean, tonight and today, okay? And if you were alone, you wouldn't have discussed something, and every one of us. But like adding this all together will give us bigger value than 1 + 1. So 1 + 1 in knowledge management gives more than 2. If you can get my point, please.
Oh, I totally understand your point. And the thing you make, this is so profound, because the failure rate is so high, right? It's like what, 60 to 70% with organizational change. It's really hard for people because they're fearful for job security, for knowledge for one over another individual, right? Or job security, survival. So there's a high failure rate. Knowledge management is a really tough challenge.
Another question for
Yes.
our knowledge management expert. So you mentioned sharing as being one of the four key pieces of it. And I'm wondering if in the sharing, in the sharing piece of knowledge management, is there the concept of permanent, I mean, I call them digital monuments, but it like a permanent piece of digital information that everybody in the world can access and will be there forever? Is that a concept for sharing?
Amazing. This concept is found over there, but the decision is yours. If you, let's say, if I'm working on this, let's say we all have a private company and we want to apply this concept. So we do it and we can have our own library. So everyone can have access to this. And we must have, let's say, book reading sessions once a week. We must have meetings in this library and sharing this once every, I don't know what. We must have storytelling also, to benefit from each other's experiences. We must have, so it's something that it actually, knowledge management goal is to improve the human beings in an attempt to improve the competitiveness of businesses, companies, anything you want to name. But first, it focuses on a human being. So once you evolve, then definitely you will reflect the true value on all what you work, all what you do, and so on. And yeah, you told me sharing. Um, and this is our decision. Okay, it's the right of everyone in this company. And if you are wise enough, then you will do what you're mentioning, David. Like, it's gonna be there for every single one, not only our company. So they can learn and and this gives us also exposure. This gives us, like, we're paying back, we're giving back to the community. We're like, it has lots of things and lots of impact, which is a win-win for us. And another thing is that number one is knowledge discovery systems. It's whenever you want to discover this knowledge, it's not easy. Then you have to capture this knowledge, and this is also harder, where you start to extract this knowledge from human experiences and brains with their consent, of course, and with it's very sensitive because it's time consuming and it needs resources and efforts. And then experts must translate this into something that can be stored into computer systems. And here's the true value and the treasure. Now we have them in the systems, and this is where sharing starts, not only in our conversations, but also why not our conversation stays for the next generation. Or I'm talking about next generation, whether in business, in school, in anything, or in general, as you want. And finally, the knowledge application systems, where now is we want to apply what we are learning, or what we learned, or what we know. It's not knowledge application system. Here comes the problem solving, the decision making, the learning process, and so on. And after this, if you want to go beyond, you even talk about unlearning, because unlearning is really needed. Sometimes you must unlearn things. Even also with companies or us as human beings. So just an example, maybe some bad news about some, maybe rumoring, maybe something. Why do I have to store this? So maybe I will try to learn how to unlearn also things, because, like, I want to learn other things. I hope I didn't confuse you guys.
No, that's very fascinating. I never
It's
thought.
like I feel stressful because I want to speak the minimum but show the full thing.
Oh no, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, well, I guess it sounds like with knowledge management, and the reason why I feel like it's very productive for us to go deeper in the knowledge management, because it is directly related to the digital monuments. And obviously, there's been a lot of people thinking about it. And so, what I'm interested in, one of the questions I have, it sounds like probably most of the people in knowledge management are thinking about it for corporations or enterprises or organizations, institutions. Um, is there a particular part of knowledge management where it's about public memory, civic memory, about not so much how to make a business work better, but more for a democracy, for example, to work better, etc.?
Yes, you can have it applied on anything that you want, but it needs someone who takes initiative and who believes in this because like even people who knows about it and knows about its importance, sometimes they might not go for this thing because they believe it's costly or they don't want to go into this. So not too much people like worldwide are, or let's say entities or, believe in this. Let's say if I have a company where it works in this knowledge management, so maybe I would have a CKO, so a chief knowledge officer. And maybe like if you are working there and you told me like I want to go and proceed with my education for masters, for example, I would have paid for this if I'm the decision maker, if I believe in knowledge management. If you tell me I want to go for a music course, although music is not related to our company, for example, then I will tell you yes, go, because in this, I believe that anything that you acquire is very beneficial for you on the personal level where you will improve and you will definitely improve the workplace, the job that you're doing, and anything.
Mhm.
You can decide it on anything you want.
Right, but I guess I'm wondering if is there I guess, is there a subgroup or a sub part of knowledge management, like public knowledge management or something like that, that's less oriented towards the organizations, enterprise? I mean, do they recognize within the field that some knowledge management is focused on companies and organization, and some is just more general knowledge or things that would be good for democracy, or they don't make that distinction?
Or are they divided by application type? You know,
Yeah,
like,
I'm just giving examples on. Sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. My internet connection just. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I was wondering if they've just divided up by application types, right? I mean, like the knowledge management, is it mostly, this is to add on to David's comment too. I mean, if it's broken out like into a number of quadrants, like through collaborative hubs or document systems or AI assistants or, I don't know, expert locators. But it seems like it depends, is more dependent upon the application type. Is that on top of what you said, David? Am I getting it kind of right? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's probably different ways to slice and dice it, and that's probably one of the prevalent ways. But yeah, I'd love to hear what Nada has to say.
yeah, go ahead. I was speaking.
Maybe most of the examples I provided were on business because these are the examples that that are of the interest of the university students. So we provide them on business, but like in hospital you can do this, in the public sector you can do this. So it doesn't matter. It gives the whole thing in general, but without focusing on one industry or one sector, or it's the same thing for anything. If you want to go for politics, for social things, for history, for health, even like if we mention for health, even there are some examples that I use for them also with medical cases where I mean, like medical companies, they were working on developing some sort of drugs and medicine, and because of they work on this approach and they have these systems, so they were able to have everyone collaborate and work on the the miracle that went with this medicine like overnight. So they did it and they achieve results. So in anything, if this is your question, so with whatever you are concerned with, this is only an umbrella thing. And it's not, when I say application, it's not something like, I mean, digital application. It's like when we want to apply what we know. And the hard thing is sometimes why it is hard, like, one of the reasons also, sometimes, not sometimes, all the times, because like our brain, it's very complicated, it's very powerful and all of this. Sometimes we ourselves also don't know that we know. So for example, if I don't try drawing, how can I know that I know how to draw or not? And sometimes I know things, but I'm not aware that I know them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is where it's philosophy or something. This is where the hard thing, because you're dealing with brains, you're dealing with the package of human brains and thoughts and insights, feelings, experience, backgrounds, beliefs, all of this together. So they can extract and tell you the truth with what they know and the whole thing. And this is the hard thing. But I mean, like, I never heard about digital monuments before in knowledge management. And if you want, I can dig further and answer a certain question that you want to ask me, so I can go and find more. If there's a certain thing that you want to know, like, let's say, not in business, in certain thing, just define it for me, write it here in chat, and I will dig more, and I will bring you the answer.
Well, you might know the answer to this already, but I think it would be really interesting to know what is considered the highest or the most durable, enduring way of sharing knowledge within the knowledge management um, field. Like, I guess because putting putting something like writing a note, that's one aspect, right? Okay, so actually, I was thinking about this earlier because you said 80% of the knowledge actually lives in our heads, and then 20% is externalized. Like, so my question is like, if we want to ex externalize knowledge from the knowledge management standpoint, what is considered kind of the gold standard of storing knowledge in a way that will be as durable and enduring as possible? Or is that even a thought?
No, no, your question is really important, and it's over there. Like, first I want to say 80% in our brains and 20% in systems. Just it's the inverse of information. Like, information, you can find it, and data and information systems on internet and everywhere. But knowledge, the 80% of it is our brain. Only 20% is stored somewhere. But the majority of it, I have to ask you, I have to interact with you, I have to talk to you, so I know more, and not go and search in systems. And the other question, like, the other thing I want to say to, so I can answer your question, um, it is it is not only one thing, it is several things, and here it depends on what we are dealing with, what aspect and what type of knowledge we want to store. Is it a technical thing? Is it a transferable skill? Is it, I don't know what? So it depends. So sometimes you can store stories. Sometimes you can store numbers. You can store videos. You can store. So it depends on the type of knowledge you already have. Thank you for the hearts. I'm so sorry I took the whole speech, but I wanted to intervene in something, and looks like it was there. Yeah. So it depends on the type of the knowledge we're trying to
Let's
store,
say
to
text.
extract.
Let's say text.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can do it whatever way you want. The most important thing is that we take it from people, and then the way how we store it, you can have experts where they can write it the way it must be written. They can sometimes, some libraries, they were stored on CDs like before with not all these technologies. Now maybe you can tell me like I want them to be stored on the cloud, or even written in as hard copies and soft copies, or you might tell me I want to have them like I want to have actors and make it as a video, so the message will be delivered better, or so it depends on how you want, but there are some standards where I also can share more with you on these types, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to me to understand um, to where, well, whether the idea of digital monuments would be something that we sh could talk to people within knowledge management and for them to potentially be interested in and maybe even do some kind of pilot project. And I think that I'm not totally sure, but it seems to me that the difference in what we're talking about is essentially it's a sharing. It's just a high level sharing of of knowledge that seeks to have that sharing last forever. And we know that just putting something on the web, that does not mean it's going to last there forever. Putting something in an application doesn't mean it's going to last there forever. And so I could be wrong, but it seems to me that maybe this digital monuments where we're seeking to put information on a blockchain or some other permanent storage that will enable people forever, hopefully, that would be the
Uh,
ideal.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be built, not on, it has to be built like a layered storage architecture that binds those objects together, you know, with all the different semantic anchors. I mean, I think that creating a type of an architecture like this is the key to the gold standard, right? And that the provenance chains are in place, and then we have then ways to have that information and knowledge management flow. It's just the way my head thinks sometimes. I don't know. I could be totally
Yeah,
off.
exactly, exactly. And I just the good thing and make me like something made me very happy, and I smiled while you were talking, David, and asking whether yes, you're just getting this thing, Dr. Susan. It's a bit confusing. I know what's going on in your head because you understood it very well. It's not something easy, and it is when you relate everything in your head is like beyond the information way more. And this is where you gain wisdom after knowledge, when you have the knowledge, and I'm definitely sure you have it with your background. So you're already knowledgeable, and within time, you're an expert in something, and this is where you become wise. Um,
Oh, thank you.
I just asked, yeah, you're welcome. I just asked the AI about the question you were trying to ask David to figure out like if you can talk to people about digital monuments within knowledge management, because
Yeah.
digital monuments is something new to me now, and it says that it is highly relevant and an emerging discipline. It bridges physical heritage with digital preservation, allowing experts, communities, and stakeholders to share, contextualize, and access institutional memory or cultural knowledge.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so we're in the right area. And yeah, it'll be interesting for us to explore that connection with knowledge management and potentially even bring some of those people to our conversations to see how they can, just as you're able to enrich it, there's going to be perspectives from other folks within knowledge management that could be useful, and certainly be very excited as you are continuing to crystallize your thinking around it and the insights that you get, given that you're in knowledge management, and that you've studied and you've practiced knowledge management. So it's great that you're in this call. I'd love to see if Renad or Salwa has any thoughts. Is anything bubbling up for you right now? Either of you?
Well, I really liked what Nada explained. It's really informative. Like I am in a new class and learning new thing. So I specifically am interested in the knowledge management. And it just reminded me of of the definition of it and the what it includes, because when I'm working with my organization, also Brave Voices, we usually use knowledge management. So what knowledge can include is documents, reports, and research. And also, it reminded me about the knowledge management cycle. Yeah. So thank you so much, Nada and Dr. Suzanne, for this information. It's really informative.
Yeah, I think Nada, I think we could build the next gold standard.
Right.
Yes, yeah. I just copied and pasted the reply of AI when I asked if we can combine these two concepts together.
I think you have a key here. This is good.
Awesome. Awesome. Salwa, any thoughts?
Hmm.
Maybe she stepped away.
Oh, sorry. I'm distracted. Yeah, I'm just traveling back home. So sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. All good. Let's so we're not gonna finish this presentation today, and that's okay. We'll
Well,
finish the rest next week. Um, what's that?
we were excited.
Yeah, that's great.
It's all my fault. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it's gonna go this way. I just told you what you reminded me while talking. So I just shared them.
Oh, it's perfect. The goal was not to finish the presentation. The goal was for us to have a generative conversation around it. So it's going exactly how it's supposed to. So the one of the things that is notable around this is that there's some challenges around fragmentation. So it's not just misinformation. When I read that, I think about some of the things that you said about, say, someone's doing knowledge management and they're going to capture it in a system. That system could be within a company, as you said, and that means that other people can't access it. It could be within a library. Libraries are physical. Some of them have digital aspects. They don't always have all the digital aspects online. And so there's these different levels of access for the information, and it can be fragmented with different contexts. And one aspect of different contexts is that, as Nada was saying, we each have like 80% of the knowledge is in our heads. We're beginning from different memories, and we have different experiences, etc. So even though it may be the same knowledge, it is interpreted differently, etc., because we have different contexts in our head. Uh, we also note that communities treat information in different ways, and they interpret it differently. They have different levels of trust based on where the information is coming from. Then, in addition to that, yeah, we all live our own different realities as well. So just there's this fragmentation that can happen. So it's not, maybe it's not even just fragmentation and misinformation, but it's also now the proliferation of information, there being so much of it, and it's so overwhelming on the web. So there's a number of different challenges that we're facing with information. Does that make sense to you all? Any thoughts on that? And the key thing to note is that with realities, we want to create a commons, some common reference points where we all know that information is there, but we're not requiring anyone to think a certain way. It's more that the information exists and we're all going to interpret it in the way that we seek to interpret it, but we know it's there. And if we're going to have a conversation in that area in which that commons exists, then we need to acknowledge it in that conversation, in that discourse, because it's a reality anchor. It's part of the reality, and our thinking needs to address that, whether we agree with it or not. And this is one of the things that I just really love. This was not from me. It came from chat, but it's the notion that digital monuments, they're lighthouses in the knowledge commons. So you know a lighthouse, it's on the coast, it's got a light beam, and the ships they use that to orient themselves. And when we're saying that digital monuments are like lighthouses, but in it with respect to knowledge. Does that make sense to you all?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just love the metaphor of the lighthouse. I mean, it's just they're such cool things. They're they don't tell you where to go. Like you see a lighthouse, it doesn't say, "Oh, you must come here," but it provides a stable landmark that can help you navigate wherever you want to go. And digital monuments can provide that same function within the knowledge landscape, within our thinking. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes.
And, and I think I made this point earlier that any field can develop their own constellation of shared landmarks. So the historians might have a set, the artists could have a set, a particular city. We're in Carson. I'm in Carson with Dee right now. uh, Carson has its own set of shared landmarks as physical monuments. In that same way, Carson, we're going to be talking to the mayor tomorrow. And it would be really interesting to ask her, well, what do you think should be available to all future generations to be known about Carson City? So as these anchors accumulate, it becomes easier for us to navigate knowledge across generations. With respect to what we were talking about with digital monuments, it fits within the meta layer because the slow layer, the digital monuments are the slowest layer of information. They're the ones that are stable, they're durable, they are permanent, and the fast layers. So the digital monuments, those are on the blockchain or essentially they're in the content layer of the web, but they're permanent. They're things that won't go away. And then we have fast layers. These are the conversations, the annotations, the AI summaries, all the things that we can then layer on top of this slow, unchanging, permanent information. So we can have a digital monument and add context, add opinions, add insights in the fast layers in the user interface on the web, and those can layer on top of those. So those can be ongoing conversation, ongoing additions of context. Whenever they become available, they can then be layered on top of the digital monuments. And over time, some of those things will deserve to become stable because they actually represent something that's knowledge that's worth preserving. So we can see some of the, say, discussions and conversations that exist in the fast layer on in the user interface, in the meta layer. We can see those at over time propagating or being brought over into the slow layers where we would then inscribe them or preserve them so that they are an extension of the digital monument and the digital monument continues to grow.